And we are live. This is episode number 46 of the Place to Be Reviews. I am Itepokui, and you can call me Pete. This evening is a special occasion as I am joined by Mr. Tap and Die. How you doing, Tap?
Oh, good. And you know what? The only reason why Monica didn't show was because she was afraid that there was going to be 3 Pete's tonight. That scares the shit out of her.
Oh, trust me, that I'm sure she cringed at that picture that I made earlier. And I am also joined by another special guest, first time on the program, Mr. David Applegate. He is the author of the Empire of Elves series. I will be posting the link to that in the chat. David, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
G'day, and how are you?
Excellent.
Excellent. Yeah, good to be here. I really, you have this great radio voice. You really do.
Doesn't?
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Look at him. He's blushing.
I did work. I worked on in FM radio for 5.5 years as a DJ, and I was a professional wrestling ring announcer. I was in the wrestling business for 9 years. I was a ring announcer for around 6.5 to 7. So, yeah. So ring announcer. But yeah, that was me.
Yeah. Yeah. That we're echoing again. Tap and Die.
Let's tap.
Oh, what the heck?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Thought I was echoing.
Oh, shit. Hang on. I'm going to have to jump out real quick. Someone's calling me. I haven't talked in a while. I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's fine.
Yeah. As introduced, I'm the author of The Boyhood of Katie, book 1 of The Empire of the Elves, available on Amazon. I am also a YouTuber, have a small channel of my own, and really I don't have a background in audiovisual. My background originally was in computing, and when that industry started to, well, it got highly competitive, and really, if you could, and updating your skill base just become too expensive. And I went into accounting, and now I'm not working, so I became a writer, and I really enjoy expressing myself creatively, but unfortunately, it's no longer a case of just writing a book anymore. You have to. Everything's a series or a franchise these days. There's nothing's a one shot.
No, I don't think you can really do, like you said, you can't do a one shot anymore. There's no such thing as just a singular standalone movie. Everything is a series or a franchise or a cinematic universe built around one. You start with this one small idea, but then they keep getting out farther, and it stretches, and then it just starts to get kind of weird once it's so big that it can't sustain itself anymore because the continuity is just too difficult to keep up on. So
yeah, I know what that's like, because in writing, before you start writing, you build your characters, you build their backstory, you can decide what backstory to put in, just enough to develop their personality, their individuality, which is sometimes hard because particularly when background characters become part of the plot, because when you get a lot of background characters, and you get a developing plot for a long form story. And I like long form stories. I'm a big fan of anime. You really got to have that continuity there, because even though readers may not always pick it up straight away, somebody will and point it out, and then everybody starts. It's a chain reaction. Look at Spider-Man. When they changed Spider-Man, oh, well, and everybody expected, oh, well, we expected to continue on. We don't expect another origin story.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what really bugs me about today's franchises is that they recast and do an origin story. Now, I know from a writer's perspective, action are the short stories. Okay, action is a short story. You struggle to get action. You can struggle to get a 75,000 word action sequence.
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on one second, David. I see we've been joined by a good friend of the program, and he's been on here a couple times now. He is the Don of 2 Cents Toys. Ladies and gentlemen, bow your heads to the greatness that is Mr. Salvador. How you doing, Sal?
Hello and salutations. It's me, Salvador, and I'm here to entertain you.
Thank
Let me entertain you.
thank you for joining us tonight on the kind of a short abridged version of comparatively to what we usually do here. But as because of my vacation schedule, I wanted to get in a second episode this week, and so I kind of threw this thing together, and I really appreciate you guys being able to join me this evening.
Yeah, of course. And
Pleasure to be here.
to go off what David was saying, I came in at the tail end of what seemed like a rant, talking about how when you're doing a comparison with anime where someone finds a mistake and then it just spreads like wildfire. I would like to submit evidence B, Nickelback. once two people were just like, you know what, Nickelback sucks. It just spread like wildfire. Now everyone thinks they suck.
Admittedly, I've seen them in concert twice. Okay, I saw them in 2001, and then when yeah, they actually had some good songs back then. They really did. And when I first started dating my wife, I felt obligated because she asked me to go with her and some of her friends. We went to see, it was 3 Days Grace, who was cool. Buck Cherry we missed, and I couldn't care less. And then Nickelback was the headliner. And by the time Nickelback came on, I was so drunk that they could have like totally been like horrible, and I wouldn't have cared. So.
That's the thing, like, because you and I remember, even David, we all vividly remember, 2001 when like Silver Side Up came out and when they did the song "Hero" for the Spider-Man soundtrack. Like,
yes,
they were good back then, or at least everyone thought they were. And then it was like 10 years later, they're like, "Oh, it's the same album again," and it just
that is when you made a mistake and you fueled the fire. If they hadn't basically written the same songs again, I mean, creatively, everybody has a creative peak. Okay, so Michael Jackson hit his creative peak, and he rode the wave. Then he had the good sense to retire. Unfortunately, he didn't have the good sense to stay retired. But a lot of artists can't get past their first album.
Yeah, that's because you have your entire life to write that first album, but once you're signed, you have a contract and a deadline to meet. They give you, 5 albums over 7 years or something, so you got to shut them out real fast.
Yeah, and then you end up with the Stock, Ackman, and Waterman formula, Basically, you have song by committee, Although movies today are done by committee, Although Star Wars had 20 writers, which is a whole episode in itself of how they all disappeared and stayed into obscurity.
Yep.
But Nickelback's just one of those things where you're right. If they got a few critical reviews by people who at the time, I can't remember who, and boom, once a few radio personalities dumped on them, that was it. I don't like influencers. I really don't. I don't get why people listen to those 10 or so 20 critics. It's like movie critics. People loved Spider-Man 3 until the critics started dumping on it. People used to like Fast and Furious, When the Fast and Furious movie came out, people liked it. But then all of a sudden, the critics started dumping on it. But You notice how the critics don't dump on Disney?
I'm back.
Tapping dies back, ladies and gentlemen. No, the critics don't want to dump on Disney because the critics don't. They know not to shit where they live, or where they eat. It's like those critics keep those.
I shit where I live.
Well, where they
I just
eat,
don't
you know
shit
what
where
I mean.
No,
Yeah.
those critics know the mouse is the mafia.
Yeah, they know. Not you don't bite the hand that feeds you, and that's exactly what Disney does to these shills, and that's why I'm kind of surprised. The Lion King. Now I haven't seen the Lion King. My wife wants to take my kid to see it, but we're not all about taking a rambunctious 4-year-old to a theater because I'm not going to be that parent. Because I used to complain about that parent, so I'm going to do society a favor with that. But that's another story. I don't really have any I have no desire to see the new Lion King movie, and that's like what a 55% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is like astronomically low for a Disney movie.
Because 50% of the shills put their thumbs up.
Go ahead.
No, you're fine, Sal. Go ahead.
I say the crazy thing about it's been talked to death already, but they've been talking about this whole. It's the live action remake. No, it's an animated remake. It's 100% CGI, and it's just kind of crazy how that dynamic works. Because if you were to, I don't know, say, Titan AE is one of my favorite animated films of all time. If they were to remake that and do all CGI, you can guarantee it wouldn't be the quote live action remake. They'd just be like, oh, it's a reboot or it's a new whatever. But for some reason, it's the live action remake for Disney.
I still got the VHS of that movie. Titan AE.
Oh yeah, it's completely underrated. It has an amazing cast
and the soundtrack.
Good. And the soundtrack. I have the soundtrack downloaded on my phone. It's that fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
But if anyone hasn't seen that yet, you go watch it. You won't be disappointed. Like what was that fucking movie Will Smith crammed his kid into with him? Fucking
After Earth.
After
Earth. Yeah. I thought that was going to be a live action remake of it, and I got kind of excited that I saw the previews for it, and I was like, I'm just gonna plop the old VHS back in and watch that.
See, I've never seen that Titan AE. I do not believe I've ever seen that one.
It's the thing. It quote failed at the box office because of the marketing. They didn't. No one knew if it was a kids movie or if it was an adult movie, what it was about. But because they were kind of like previewing it in front of Disney movies at the time, like fucking Quest for Camelot or whatever those movies were.
Okay.
But it was geared more towards like young adults or like the 20 crowd because there's a lot of science fiction in it. There's a lot of violence in it. So it's kind of like somewhere between, I don't know, fucking a Scanner Darkly and fucking, I don't know, Into the Spider-Verse. Like it's kind of animated, but it's got more adult themes in it.
Okay.
Like about 90% of anime, it's not marketed for anybody under 16.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially where is that new one? That Goblin Hunter or Goblin Kingdom or something?
Slayer.
Goblin Slayer. Yeah. So here's my theory about that. I know nothing about this show or the anime or the manga or any. I know nothing about it. But when I watched that scene where the goblins do their thing that got a huge uproar on the internet, and I was like, you know what? This looks a lot like a D&D campaign. I'm willing to bet that at the end of this whole manga anime run, it's going to close and it's going to be a group of kids around a table playing D&D.
Ah! Oh, that'd be cool.
That's funny. What they cancelled the D&D show and they cancelled its remake and relaunched it. It's just it's something that doesn't translate well to cinema.
Yeah, they tried that.
They tried that, and it just doesn't translate well. Because in the human mind, you can be lots of things. You can't be one narrow class. You know what I mean? It's just too unrealistic for most people to process, and it's not very entertaining. The entertaining part of D&D is the interaction. And I've said it before, you can't translate everything to cinema. They've tried it with video games, and the entertainment in video games is you competing against the AI, even though it's not. You know, that's a.
It's something
Okay.
things you just can't reproduce. Like you can't recapture moments. Like it's kind of like I guess a good example would be like when you go, I don't know, to Tahiti or you go to fucking Winnipeg, or you go somewhere on vacation, pick wherever you want to go, and then you show people photographs and you're trying to be like, look, and you can't recreate what was there for that person if they've never been there.
Yep.
That's what the Lion King remake is. It's a photograph of the original.
Exactly. Which the original was, oh god, I don't even remember when did that one come out. Sometime in, I would say sometime in the 1800s when William Shakespeare wrote Hamlet. I think I'm pretty sure that's when the original came out.
Yeah.
The Lion King is a ripoff of the story Kimba.
Yeah, Kimba the White Lion,
which the Japanese animated in the 60s.
Right.
Although they actually animated it first in the 50s, but that was in Japanese. It was Americanized and colorized and released as Kimba the White Lion, which is a whole other story of how the Americans just almost destroyed the Japanese anime industry. But in the process of the Americans' failure, they launched the Japanese international anime industry, which is now dominating the franchises. If you look at the top 20 franchises in the world, they're anime. You got Pokemon. You got the Pokemon video game sold more. Sorry, the Pokemon card game has sold more cards than Harry Potter books.
Yeah, I believe it.
Mm-hmm. It's little monsters.
Yeah, little pocket monsters. That was.
Pokemon Go made more. Pokemon Go made more money than the first Harry Potter movie.
Jesus.
Yeah,
you know,
but talk about lightning in a bottle. Kevin Feige should have quit. Ride the high.
Yeah, he should have quit right after they released Endgame. If he had any idea the shitstorm of Phase 4 was going to cause, and this is, like I said, nothing is even released yet, and this is already kind of causing a ripple effect across the fandom, especially
across time and space.
But I believe it was all planned. Kevin Feige had planned out originally the phases, and he planned that once they got the popularity, they'd bring in all the SJW characters that failed, because he's contracted by Marvel to bring them success.
Yep. And that's the thing. It's like working the long con.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly what he did. It's like you build this up for 11 years, and you make us feel for these characters in this story and buy into it, and spend money and spend time and invest in this, and then it's just you take it down brick by brick. You take your tent poles down, but you try to replace them with the paper straws they have to use in California now. And that shit doesn't hold water. Once the weight hits it, and that's the fandom, it's like it crumbles. Look at the comic runs for these stupid SJW characters, like what is it? Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel. The Squirrel Girls of the world, and even like Ironheart, and the female Thor run with Jane Foster started in early 2013, something like that, 2014. They don't sell. Nobody wants it.
Now,
you know what this is?
Have you seen a pattern though? Do you see the pattern?
No.
They're Disney princess wish fulfillment characters in comic books.
Oh.
Ooh.
Yep. Need more
of Miss
characters to walk
Muslim.
around the park and autograph that dumbass book that they sell you.
But which one?
You know,
But what's happened is there was once upon a time there was Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
Nobody complained.
No.
What happened? The Venomous said she's too pretty, so they took her show off the air. And that's when they got power. 1999 was a turning point in television, in film. Is when all the SJWs, all those SJWs first graduated, started taking jobs, and they came out with Matrix sequels, and they came out with all sorts of SJW characters in comic books. At first, it was a trickle, but each time a new editor came into Marvel, in came a new batch of artists, and in came a new batch of female wish fulfillment characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how Marvel kept their doors open, because if you sold 10,000 comic books, that's like, what, 10% of that is revenue? The rest is taxes and costs? I don't see how they stay open.
through memorabilia and licensing mostly. It's just like athletes, they make a lot of money on their contracts, of course, but most of their money comes from like licensing their likeness to Wheaties or a shoe company. It comes
The
from
jerseys and stuff.
Yeah, so like with Marvel, I'm sure they make a lot more, like, especially someone like myself, I collect the Marvel Legends figures. They're $20 usually on an average, and it costs maybe, I don't know, $2 worth of plastic to mold them. So they're getting most of their money from these figures and the merch, like lunch boxes and T-shirts and video games, and especially the MCU.
You know, it's funny talking about merchandise. And speaking of this, I want to give a shout out to the chat. Raiders of Lost Flicks, big shout out to him and the Appalachian American in the chat right now. I took a picture of this stack of T-shirts, this rack at my Walmart, and they had a big stack of Captain Marvel shirts, right?
Mhm.
Those shirts sat there for at least a month and a half, and I swear to God, they sold 2 of them, and every other shirt sold out. And then they started changing the display, and the only ones left, there's a few of these kind of just cheesy Avengers shirts left, and then a whole big stack of the Captain Marvel shirts until they finally just took them all out.
Mhm.
I laughed so hard at that.
The thing is, that's what they don't. That's what I don't get. They're pandering to people who don't buy their product.
Yep.
The SJWs remind me of those evangelists who went out in the 18th century. They preached and they preached and they preached, but then they'd set themselves up in big colonial homes on the hill and live the millionaire lifestyle, having all these servants. They didn't. You ever?
Some things never change, huh?
Yeah.
So that's right. Some things never change. The hypocrites, they're the most fanatical. I remember as a youth, there used to be, it used to be very common, he's too smooth to be trusted, he's too good looking to be trusted, or he's too smooth, never trust a smooth talker, never trust a
good smile and a big ass.
Yeah.
Yep. That's it. Never trust a big butt and a smile, because that girl is poison. Let's play that right now.
But yeah, see, I think just going back to this whole getting replaced and all that kind of shit, I feel like I'm like the king of examples. That's basically, I can only speak in metaphor and simile, but
just don't mention adjectives.
Damn you and your adjectives.
That's what is that, a 6-letter word? We don't, or is that 7? I don't know. But the best way to describe all this shit is like, so the comic books and the franchises, the IPs of yore were, I don't know, think of it as like the Hills department store, the Kmart, or the whatever used to be in your area for years and years and years, and then they have to close up shop, and now it's a fucking Spirit of Halloween store.
Yep.
That's kind of what this shit is. It only matters like 1 month out of the year, and even then it's full of people pretending to be shit that they're not.
Damn, that is a good one.
That is.
I'm gonna have to hire him.
Ladies and gentlemen, Deep Thoughts by Sal Vador.
Now,
They're the only thoughts I have.
Big
now
shot.
we've been told that Phase 4 is going to be the first MCU phase without a Captain American movie and no Avengers movie.
And that's the thing about this entire slate. And before we jump into this, Chris Wicks is in the chat. What's up, Chris? How you doing? He's
Chris?
He's all the way over there by David. See, them guys are they're right around the same side there. So, and Chris, I'm sorry I missed your call earlier, brother. We will touch base mañana if you can. But okay, so Phase 4. So let me run down this slate here. So we've got the first one coming out, and this is including all these Disney Plus shows. We got Black Widow, May 1st, 2020. The Eternals, November 6th, 2020. And Falcon and the Winter Soldier, fall of 2020. That's Disney Plus. Shang-Chi, February 12th, 2021. WandaVision, spring 2021. That's Disney Plus. Loki, spring 2021. Disney Plus. Doctor Strange 2, The Multiverse of Madness, May 7th, 2021. What If? That's the animated show. That's Disney Plus, summer 2021. Hawkeye, fall 2021, Disney Plus. Thor, Love and Thunder. We'll all be vomiting in our mouths on November 5th, 2021. And that will close out Phase 4. So
what about the Eternals?
The Eternal. Oh, well, that's going to be. You've got Angelina Jolie as Thena.
Her bony ass.
Selma Hayek as Ajax. Richard Madden as Icarus. Brian Tyree Henry is Fastos, and then Kumail Nanjiani is in it as well. And he is just not funny to me at all. I've watched a little of his stand-up, and I performed stand-up before, and I've watched hours and hours and hours of stand-up, and he is just I don't know what it is that. I mean, some people find him funny. Humor is subjective, but I don't like his humor.
Now, Don Lee has been cast as Gilgamesh. Who, by the way, if anybody doesn't know the Gilgamesh epic, it's the original tales. It's one of the oldest tales in the world from Babylon. So, and Liam McHugh as Sprite. Now, that's funny because a Sprite is actually from Celtic mythology. So they've actually correctly cast a Sprite, but they've incorrectly cast an Arab character with a South Korean, which is going to really spin the SJWs around. Oh, yeah. That's really going to spin them.
I wonder. As I say, I wonder how fired up they're going to get there. About if there's going to be any outrage about that, they're like, can we get mad about that one? Are we supposed to? I think that'll make their heads explode. They'll like glitch out.
But
I also want to go out on a limb. I'm just going to say it right now. That Eternals movie is most likely, unless they can pull another Guardians of the Galaxy out of their ass with that. It's going to be a one-time thing. Like,
think it's going to have another Inhumans on our hands, like last time.
Well, they're talking about reviving the Inhumans.
Yeah, because they worked out so well.
What was this, like the eighth or ninth time?
Well, it'll go to Disney Plus if it goes anywhere at all. But
yeah,
the thing about the Eternals is just like Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, at least Guardians had a dedicated following. I know of the Eternals, and I know some of my favorite characters are technically Eternals, but they're not like this huge monumental IP for Marvel, but they play an important role in basically setting up how the X-Men were created, or the people with powers were created, by creating two different races and shit. So I think they're basically just putting them in there to be like, oh yeah, now we're going to introduce people with powers, but we're not going to have to give them any detailed, like, down-to-earth, grounded backstory. We can just say, oh yeah, they have eternal blood, or it's going to be a cop-out for them from here on out.
So the X-Men,
it really is. It's lazy writing at its best, and at worst, it's they've reached peak. They've reached peak, and they know it.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see this like. This is, I mean, it's. I want to say it's kind of. It is kind of a big cast. so they're gonna spend the money on that. But like this movie's supposed to come out. What did I say? The Eternals is November 6th of 2020. I mean, you're talking a year and a couple months away from now, and they haven't even begun principal photography on this, have they, or anything?
Now, principal photography is the short end of the stick now, because if you look how they made Guardians of the Galaxy, they only spent 3 months in a green screen studio, but they spent over a year in post-production.
And that's it, so do they what kind of story, what did they have? I mean, I'm just kind of curious as to how this movie's going to translate over. Are they going
to obviously we're getting false information. I think they're not doing principal photography. I think they're doing reshoots.
Probably. I don't know. This is I really don't know much about the Eternals, their individual story, so I don't know. I'm just
as Salvatore said, they're a cop out.
Yeah. There's not much on this list that made me go, wow. There's a lot that made me go, eh.
Well, you're not excited for WandaVision?
Okay, the only reason I'm excited for WandaVision is I really like Elizabeth Olsen.
There it is. That's a stupid ass name though. The show, just WandaVision.
It
really?
is.
That's the best they could come up with.
I don't know why she's so mad, because women every day experience the batteries dying.
Really solid now.
Right? It just goes from being a vibrator to a dildo when the batteries are removed.
That's what. Oh my god. More deep thoughts from Salvador.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Oh hell, that's But so this Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, I like Anthony Mackie, I like Sebastian Stan. This is going to be a limited show. You've got Daniel Bruhl coming back doing the Baron Zemo, which he's going to be donning the purple mask like in the comics. Now, Salvador's a man who can appreciate the mask, the Destro fan there. So this is probably kind of right up your alley, maybe.
It is. I was when I heard that Destro, and then they kind of did a shit deal to Baron von Strucker as well. He had like 4 lines in Age of Ultron, then he was dead. But show me the body. We only saw it in a photograph, but that's neither here nor there. But for Baron Zemo, I didn't figure he would be in a full purple costume with the snow leopard fucking cowl and all that shit. I figured he'd be some modernization. But he had nothing other than a name tying him to the character, really. Like, he didn't have any physical features that were like, oh, yeah, it's Baron Zemo. He's a vampire. It was kind of like, which I wonder, since he's going to be a vampire, if that's how they'll introduce Blade, is in that, because he's supposed to be the antagonist in that Winter Soldier Falcon show, right?
Yes.
So I wonder if they'll do like a teaser for Blade since Baron Zemo's a vampire.
That would be a really slick way to tie Blade in, and also Zemo was like guy who headed up the Thunderbolts, wasn't he? Yeah, I do.
Look, they've swapped and changed so many characters.
So I don't. I mean, that would be a cool way to introduce the Thunderbolts in.
You mean the Thunderbirds?
No, not the Fabulous Thunderbirds.
Now, a year ago, when they started talking about Phase 4, they were also talking about Warlock and Nova.
Yeah. Yep.
And now I'm starting to think, is Warlock dropped because he's the end game of Phase 4, or is he dropped because they don't want to do Adam Warlock because he's a straight white male?
Well, he was supposed to be. I think he's still slated for the Guardians 3. As the baddie in that, and that was the thing. The Nova movie there was rumors of that being in Phase 4, like for months and months, and all of a sudden it just disappeared. And like I said, this lineup was kind of underwhelming on a lot of fronts.
It's more TV. It's more Disney only TV. And what's upset a lot of fans is, in order to slate so much TV, they've cancelled the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah. Yep. which is disappointing because I'm kind of going back and rewatching it because I quit watching it after like I think the second season for some reason. It was just a lot of just
I
working
quit
on
after the
other
third
shows.
episode.
And I'm going back and watching it now, and I mean I remember it. It was just a fun show. But yeah, I saw that was getting canceled. This is what season 7. I think they're going to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it wasn't long ago they were
Yeah.
talking about carrying on until season 10.
Mm-hmm.
That's the Agents of Shield show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw the first season of that, and I got super excited because I was like, oh, Agent Coulson's back, and then the dude that ended up being Deathlock, you see him leap out of that window and like crash onto the ground, and he's fine. I was like, I thought he was gonna be Luke Cage, and I was like all different shades of excited for it. And then they introduced what's her fucking name, the main actress or whatever, and I was like, this is the bitch that didn't have parents or some shit. I didn't watch long enough to find out because I was like, I don't care about any of these other tertiary characters.
You mean the super hacker who could hack anything but only when the plot demands it?
Yes. And then I was like, why don't you make Coulson the focus of your show, since that's why people are watching, not this fucking girl that just came out of left field and we're just supposed to care about her success or anything that her and the rest of the SHIELD agents do. And then with the events that happened in Winter Soldier, where
but that's sexist.
Yeah.
I know. But with the events that happened in Winter Soldier, SHIELD's not around anymore, so it's like they should have just ended the show then, been like, okay, and then start something else, or be like, I don't know, Agents of Hydra or something. But I don't know. It'd be like having the movie or having the show Friends, except they all move to different parts of the country and they Skype once a week.
Oh shit!
That'd be more realistic nowadays.
Right, but that's kind of what it would be like. You can't really call it friends. You'd have to call it like online acquaintances or something.
Yep.
Photographs on the wall.
Yeah. Speaking of Wanda and Vision and X-Men and all that, I was talking to Jeff yesterday, day before, some time ago, and all they really need to do is, if you're familiar with the House of M storyline, where she says that no more mutants and they're all wiped out or reverted to normal people, they just have her, it takes place 5 years afterwards and she's grieving over Vision still because everyone else got to come back, but he didn't, and then she fucking loses her mind in an argument with someone and just says, I'm tired of being alone, and then, her power unleashes across the planet, and all of a sudden there's all these mutants because she didn't want to be alone anymore, and she wanted more people like her.
Mm-hmm.
And there's your mutants, there's your X-Men.
Don't say that, man. They might take that idea. It makes too much sense.
That's funny. I was exactly going to say that because I was reading something else. They were talking about using that House of M storyline, and they're going to possibly arch that between the WandaVision show and Doctor Strange 2, because Elizabeth Olsen is slated to appear in Doctor Strange 2 into the Multiverse of Madness. So there's your arch. And all that talk
about to look up Bustier, that's all I'm saying.
Yep. I think that
go ahead, man. Did you watch Old Boy yet?
I have not yet.
You need to if you're a fan of Elizabeth Olsen. That's all.
Oh God, you're getting to watch that movie?
Is it on? I gotta look and see if it's on Netflix or something.
The one with Josh Brolin, not the.
You can just Google it too. You don't have to actually watch it. You'll see what I'm talking about when you go.
Okay. All right.
It's on Pornhub, I'm sure.
It's on Pornhub. Yeah.
Jesus.
Everything's on Pornhub.
Yeah, my favorite part of Pornhub is when you watch, like, I don't know, like one man fucks entire town and it's like a wide receiver that didn't catch a ball and lost the game for his entire town, like Philadelphia or something.
Oh shit.
If it was one man fucks entire town and it was a football reference, he'd have to be playing for the Detroit Lions. But then again, it'd probably be somebody.
There could be a video.
It'd probably be somebody from the goddamn front office.
Oh,
probably.
Ugh.
I could think of one where a meme would be, I gotta remember what game it was. It would be football player fucks over Deion Green, and it'd be that one episode where he freaks out over the Detroit Lions. I gotta figure out that game. If I was good at meme, I'm like that Photoshop, and that's what I would do. Shit. The Stallions. Anything with a horse. The Broncos.
The Broncos, the Colts. Oh shit!
Oh, I have an
So,
idea for a meme. I'll tell you about it later, Pete.
all right, all right.
All
Um,
right.
so,
But well, hey, did you realize that they didn't push Black Panther 2 at all
well, that's going
at
to be
Comic Con?
no, they didn't, and that's going to be a huge part of Phase 5 with like Guardians and probably
Yeah.
Fantastic Four, and then you've got Captain Meduce is what I'm going to call her now. That's Meduce, Captain
I like,
Meduce,
I like Captain Barfel myself.
Captain Marvel. So yeah, you got like you'll have, and probably like by then you'll have Blade. I don't know if they don't do it before, but and then the way they're teasing the X-Men now real heavy, so you know, but are they even going to
Yeah,
call it X-Men?
because they had casting leaks for the new for X-Men Wolverine, and it's like, wait, didn't we have an X-Men Wolverine? Why we got leaked rumors about? But they wanted to steal Tom Hardy off Venom to go to be Wolverine.
You know what'll happen is we'll finally get an X-Men announcement, and it'll be X-23 instead of Wolverine.
Yep.
Yeah.
All new, all different X-Men.
Actually, isn't that girl in the new Avengers? That's Phase 5.
Possibly. I don't know anything about Phase 5.
Well, Phase 5 has got the Young Avengers or the New Avengers, whichever script leak you read about.
They had a script. They commissioned a script for a Dark Avengers movie, but they were also developing like the new and the Young Avengers too. Hey, what's up, Monica?
Hi.
Ladies and gentlemen, Monica has arrived. She's here. She comes here to close out the last half hour of the program.
I'm alive. All that counts.
So, but
Hi,
no,
friends.
Hello.
Hola.
Friends, fans, and air conditioners. Great.
What, you can hear it?
No, it's a greeting. It's a greetings. Hi, friends, fans, and air conditioners.
what's the subject and the predicate of that sentence? Damn it!
Those goddamn grammar Nazis.
And their pronouns and proverbs and their propetitions and shit.
Hail
And
Hydra.
their proclamations.
Organic produce.
God,
Yeah. Not the good kind.
Those goddamn hippies, I tell you what, next time I catch them around here, I'm going to tie the long hair in their head to the short hair in their ass and kick them down the hall.
No, they don't have any short hairs anymore. They're suing to get them waxed.
okay, yeah.
Tells them that the whole shaved head thing was only cool when Sinead O'Connor did it back in the 90s. It's time to let that go.
I can't let my hair go. Y'all have seen pictures of me with hair now. There's no way I'm going back to that.
Wait, I haven't seen them.
I had there's pictures of me on my other Facebook account, the one that's not banned for 30 days. Of basically from like October 2017 till November 2018, I didn't shave my head. So there's me with a thick around the sides and rather thin up top, lustrous head of hair. That I look like a goddamn. I was auditioning for Jesus Christ Superstar at one point.
No, you just look straight homeless.
I did.
I thought you were gonna say straight up homosexual.
No, homeless. Like
No.
he looked like a hobo that jumps off the train.
Yep, I did because I let my beard completely grow out too. I didn't even trim it or anything. It was just like wow.
Yeah.
I was like,
Should have changed it to a handlebar, pulled off the Hulk Hogan.
Oh my God! Sal, I have to show you pictures of me. I dyed my goatee blonde like Hogan and did a Hogan. And I did a Hogan entrance when I was ring announcing one year. I came out to Voodoo Child and everything. It was fucking great.
He had my same reaction. Oh no!
Yep. You know how many times? Because my facial hair is really dark. I had to bleach my beard like at least 6 or 7 times to get it to go blonde. It was a bitch. And then I kept it like that for 4 months because my wife hated it, so I just kept it like that.
Nice.
Yeah, she did. She was not impressed. She was not impressed. So we were discussing the wokening here.
The Awakening.
The Wokening.
Yes, Phase 4, the Wokening.
I think that's going to be the name of the saga, the next saga of Marvel, because you know this is all going to lead to fucking Riri Williams and Kamala Khan and America Chavez and fucking
Kate
Squirrel
Bishop.
Girl.
Remember, I about 2 months ago found a casting call for Squirrel Girl and the new artwork, and it's amazing. Every time I honestly think they're doing this to get us to advertise for them. We're test marketing. They can see how much outrage they generate, and they just tweak it just enough, just to keep us outraged. But you know what I mean?
Mhm.
They're still trying to tweak their formula to get Squirrel Girl acceptable, but they are working that way. You know, they've leaked little bits here and there. If you've been paying attention.
Marvel's the WAV Avengers.
Avengers. Avengers.
What about the there's talk of a Witches movie too. Not to I forget the name of them, the Five or whatever it is.
I don't know.
Oh shit!
About the Witcher for the Amazon series.
I've heard about that. I've never seen that. I don't really know much about that one. I don't have Amazon Prime or anything.
Yeah, I've got the Witcher 3. I've played it for probably combined 12 hours. I haven't made it very far. It's a fun enough game, but I don't know enough about it to be outraged about this or that casting. The only thing I really know is people got in an uproar because they cast a woman of color, or I guess a teenager of color, to play a character that's traditionally white, like albino almost or something.
Yeah,
Okay.
And that actually
a black.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Black Eastern European.
Pete, your hair. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah,
It scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, that actress actually passed away probably a month ago at this point. So I don't know what the status is of that show or that character.
Who knows?
I don't know. See, I like I said, I never really followed it. I didn't really know too much about it. All I heard is, it was kind of like, a big deal because there was all these articles on, all the typical sites, the usual suspects about them, swapping the character, and there's people outraged. And so I never really had a stance on it either way. I'm not going to, take a position on something I don't really have a stake in.
Yeah. Speaking of nothing at all, I don't know if you guys saw it or not, but I'm trying to get this trending. Hashtag Natalie Thortman.
Thortman.
Damn, that's a good one. Thortman. Oh my
What's
god.
that?
She's doing it for a paycheck, like I understand, but that whole panel where she's holding the hammer just kind of like up by her head, and like, you really aren't that enthusiastic to be taking the mantle of Thor, which is
right.
If you play it right, you can build a franchise from and make more money than you've ever dreamed of from fucking Black Swan or whatever bullshit you've been in, other than fucking the prequel trilogy.
That's
But it's
the
just
problem.
She's gonna get fuck you money.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
but it's
the
like,
problem.
at
These stars, the stuff that they like is the stuff that we don't like. They don't like the fact that we don't like the Black Swan or every Bronte or
oh my god. She was the hermaphrodite fucking ballerina with the lit cigarette and the naked ball.
And where?
Black Swan.
Black
From
Swan.
the last live stream.
Oh.
It's a callback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
They don't
yeah,
like-
the cigarette. I forgot about that.
But she can't even hold up that hammer, and it's a prop.
This is the thing that really pisses me off about this, and a lot of these actresses that cast, and I'll even toss this over to Cat Pan fucking meh, is the actresses that they cast, and they try to pass like, okay, so this is Lady Thor. Now I don't. The Lady Thor in the comics she's built like a fucking Amazon, you know. And then you look and you got Natalie fucking Portman, who's like 5'2", 110 pounds, and her arms look like fucking noodles. Like Monica, you got bigger guns than she does, like by far, like straight up. I think you could probably curl Natalie Portman, but it's fucking funny because like I don't like. Are they gonna CGI the shit out of her, or is she gonna like go on the old Bev Francis juice diet? You know what I mean? For this fucking role.
No, she's gonna get a Captain Marvel's stunt double. So that one's gonna be getting some work this year.
Is she gonna go on the Captain Marvel workout plan and push a Jeep up a neutral down a hill?
It's not even a workout. There was no effort involved in that.
I mean,
that's the punchline.
And that's the thing about her fucking she's not like her performances are not compelling. Although I liked kind of what she did in the prequels. She was not compelling. She's melodramatic. I don't buy what she's selling most of the time. And you know, when there was a problem in a scene, it was usually left to Ewan McGregor to fix it with her because he saved most of those movies because he's just fucking awesome. So I mean, I don't know how this is going to translate because the first two Thor movies, I was like kind of just with her. I would have rather seen them pursue the angle with him and Lady Sif, which brings me around to, God damn it, why can't we get Jamie Alexander back? I mean, Jamie Alexander physically looks the part. She can act. She was a badass in the first one. It's like, do her some justice. I mean, I really think that would be a better decision, but what the fuck do I know?
What do you know, straight white male?
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem. You see,
out of the franchise.
That's the problem.
Because
They make money.
What was that, Sal?
Sorry, Sal.
She was quietly written out of the franchise because she got the leading role in some detective show or something that she was in, and she was like, "Hey, I'm making more money. I'm getting better recognition doing this show that I don't know." Clearly, she's right, I guess. But that's why she was kind of written out, why she wasn't in Ragnarok, even just to have like a gracious, like, oh, you know, mention she was killed off screen, at least give us something. But that's why she's not in it. And for the prop, I'm pretty sure that Natalie Portman could raise that hammer above her head. I think it was just lack of enthusiasm to do so.
Yeah.
The whole thing, like, it's a paycheck, and people keep like posting that on the WCBS Facebook page, and people are like, oh, it's just a paycheck. I'm like, I get that. However, she's also an actress, and she's at Comic-Con. She needs to ham this shit up at least, you know, while she's.
I know. Give some bravado, damn it.
You know, work retail for a day, and you'll understand. You got to wear that fake smile, and you got to be someone that you're not. You got to step into a role and pretend to at least like the fact that they're giving you this fucking huge movie. You're going to be the headliner. You're going to be the hero. Don't just hold it up by your head and be like, yeah, I guess I'll do this. Thanks, guys.
It's her job to fake smile.
You gotta fucking sell it. That's it. She's not selling. She's selling the shit already. How the fuck? Like, how are we gonna? How can we get behind this? How can we get behind a story that nobody already liked, nobody fucking wanted, but then you went ahead and did it anyway, didn't you, Kevin Feige?
I'm thinking we should do a petition, get Pete to play Lady Thor.
I'll shave my legs and get back in shape. I'll be Lady Thor.
Be very progressive of them.
True. That's the other thing. Like they want to act like this is so progressive and it's such a huge deal. And it's like, let me ask you something. Honestly, other than people who were fans of the comics, gave even half a shit about the Thor movie when it came out. Like honestly, I didn't care to see it until I found out there's going to be an Avengers movie, and I went and saw it.
The thing is, these progressives are full of horse manure about progress, because it's not about progress. Because if you go back and look at the original mythology, Sith was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Sith was a big deal 3,500 years ago. You have Hera in Greek mythology 5,000 years ago. So they talk about being progressive. The only progress they make is progress towards an ideology, not progress in we're advancing society. No, they progress towards an ideology. They're narrowing the field. I was talking to Pete before about creativity. You can't be creative anymore. You have to be conformist. Everything's about the franchise.
Yep.
Yeah, so
And
that's
Mike's been playing the long con on us. It's always been building up to putting these horrible characters on screen. I couldn't find it, but I can't remember which show I did now. We're on it, but there was Marvel was casting Squirrel Girl.
Huh.
I thought they already did though.
I heard they were talking about that singer girl for, was it Anna Kendrick or something like that?
Yeah.
I absolutely, I kind of like her. I just thought I saw her in something. I thought she was funny. But I mean, I don't want to see a Squirrel Girl movie because that was more or less just like a joke of a comic. I knew, I never read it, but
It's a wish fulfillment character, and that's the problem. All these female characters, they're Disney princesses.
yeah, and that's not. See, I mean, like you said, swapping this Thor out. Now you had an opportunity with Thor 4, and then you add the Tessa Thompson into the equation. This whole, now she's the king of Asgard. She needs to find her queen, and that's what the fucking movie's going to center on. It's like this whole subplot. So what is Thor going to be doing during this movie? Sitting on his fucking hands? You know,
He's with Guardians of the Galaxy now.
well, and if you're going to do that with him, like you didn't, so they're just completely going to cuck Thor out in his own movie. So it's just basically like Thor. It's the Thorettes, and then some big dumb white dude is basically what they're doing to the movie, because that's what they did to him in the fucking Ghostbusters 2016 movie. They made him look like a fucking idiot. You know, so this dude is, and I liked, and this is the problem, I liked Thor Ragnarok. I didn't like the fact that he kind of looked like a bumbling idiot, but I liked when it was business time, he handled his shit. You know, I kind of liked the humor of the movie. I liked the Korg character, Meek. That was funny. You know, Valkyrie was cool in that movie, but then like with this whole thing with making her this big deal now, and it's like I said, I have no problem with female characters, whatever. If they're gay, cool. But like now you're bringing this to the front of the movie, like, and now because we're gonna talk about it, and I'm talking about it, I'm gonna be some homophobe because I don't want to get. I don't care. But shouldn't this movie be about like the adventures of the characters instead of like who they're fucking? I mean, does that really make any sense to anybody else?
Well,
unfortunately, it does to most people, but because they are so cut by this constant beratement that you're a sexist, you're a homophobe, you're closed-minded. The thing is, they're the ones who are closed-minded. They're the ones who keep narrowing the field. They keep eliminating white males. They keep eliminating
gingers.
They keep making everything female. They keep making the same origin stories over and over again. I've had people say they won't buy my book because I'm a white male. That's the constant bombardment that people are getting. And the thing is, they wonder why all of a sudden these successful franchises suddenly get tapped off in China. China says, okay, no, we don't want this. You know, they did it to Transformers.
In China, they have a whole word just to describe this fucking American cinema. It's like, I forget what it is because, you know, reasons.
Baizu, yeah.
It's
like, yeah, it's used to describe the American cinema where it's like, oh, they did this because of reasons.
Yep.
Because like, so I've mentioned this before, but never on this stream. My significant other, she's black, like, and she
not sober.
Oh no, I just broke one of my GI Joes. Anyway, yeah, it's fine. It's an overkill from the '90s. I can replace him. Anyway, that's what I do. I fiddle with GI Joes while I talk on streams. But anyway, so she's you know on our side of all this, and she just gets so pissed off whenever they're like Ariel being black. She's like, I don't give a rat. She's like, why does Disney as a company think so little of my entire race that just by switching a character that they're going to get everyone on board? And like, and she says the same thing about the Medea movies. She thinks they're fucking terrible, but she gets so angry whenever like the whole Thor situation and the James Bond situation. She's like, I was already a fan of these movies and these characters before they did that. Like, why are they trying to like why are they doing this? Because I've asked her before. I'm like, because there are certain IPs she doesn't care about. Like she doesn't care, or know a lot about the X-Men. I'm like, how would you feel if, I don't know, Terry Crews was cast as fucking Cyclops and, I don't know, Queen Latifah was cast as Jean Grey? She's like, it wouldn't make me want to go see it anymore. Like, it's not like it's going to add any value to it.
Yeah.
It's just adding woke points. Because
the problem is, if you go to places in New York City, particularly Harlem, and you're white, you're going to get attacked. It's gotten that bad. It's gotten that bad that violent mobs roam the streets of cities in the world right now, and nobody will do anything because they're black. And those are the people that Disney and all those are pandering to. They are pandering to they're not pandering to the audience. They're pandering to the fear that they'll get attacked if they don't pander to the mob. They fear the mob. They don't fear us.
The thing, see, the take on it I have is, and like you said, Sal, to speak to from your significant other's perspective of that is, like you said, you get that base level perspective, and to see and they play, like you said, the Medea movies especially, and I'm a white dude and I can sit back and go like, that just plays on every stereotype that's negative. And how can anybody think that's good or serves any kind of advancement? It's like it's stupid. And I know it's supposed to be humor, but at the same time, there's so much, like you said, all this pandering, and like you said, like she doesn't care. She doesn't care about the characters, because if she liked the franchise, she liked it because she enjoyed that character and she could invest in the character because of who the character was. And she, you can, and Jeff said this, and I've heard a lot of people, and I'm the same way with this. I don't care what the character looks like. I care about who they are and their story and their adventure and what that entails. To me, that's the most important part of it.
I made an SJW cry the other day. I told them, if you have to gender swap a character, right, you obviously don't feel that if you have to replace a male character with a female, you obviously don't feel that you can market that female on her own with a original character.
Right. And that's the other thing. This, just speaking back on my significant other, she actually said this and brought it to my attention that she's like, I don't understand why it's such a big deal. Like it's only okay like if a white character is recast as a different minority, but if a minority character is cast as white, then it's whitewashing and all those other horrible things. And she
like
said,
The Wall with Matt Damon, even
right.
or Scarlett Johansson in now I forgot the name of Ghost in the Shell.
Yep.
Yeah.
But Ghost in the Shell, the Japanese wanted Scarlett Johansson for the American audience because they tried it before with a Japanese actress in a live action and it didn't work.
Yep. But also, she said that like she doesn't understand this huge why it matters so much, and she's like, if these woke people want to be really woke, then she's like, just point them at Martin Luther King, where judge not by the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
Yep.
But these SJWs seem intent on judging them by the color of their skin. It's kind of like the complete opposite of what these original rights activists would have wanted.
And no, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Sal.
No, that was it.
No, I was just gonna say, and what these SJWs do, and going straight to putting them in a box based on their race is actually, more demeaning than what than not having a character that represents them is, because it just categorizes them as one thing when there's so many more layers to a person than just their ethnicity or their religion or whatever and what have you.
But then you had the success of Black Dynamite and Shaft, and then the success of, and the whole black hip hop culture of hate the man, fight the power, blame whitey. Unfortunately, the black community is now so divided. You have the woke blacks and the everyday, and the everyday black person is suffering more because they're getting pushed out by their own community. Black exploitation films used to be, a running joke. Now it's like everything has to be a black exploitation film.
I don't know, like now the new Shaft. Have any of you seen that? I have not watched it yet.
Haven't.
I have not. I wanted to, but I have not seen it just because I have to be really selective about what films I go and see, just because the closest theater to me is a Pike, and I unfortunately wasted money on Midsummer, so there's that.
You saw that movie?
I did, because Alpha 24, or I guess A24, is a really good production company. Like, they have some really good stuff. Like, I loved Hereditary and The Witch. I thought those were great, and I was like, oh, it's the same people. No, it was garbage.
There's another one I've been kind of interested in, and actually, it was that Brightburn movie, and that is kind of, I guess that was kind of like an anti-Superman. I still, like I said, I went through and like read all the spoilers for it, but I'm still gonna watch it. It seemed kind of cool, but I don't know if they're gonna do a sequel to that one, because that was like kind of like an anti-hero movie.
Yeah, that's exactly why I didn't go and see it. I'm like, it's exactly Superman except he's evil, and it's like if they'd gotten General Zod instead of Kal-El.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not gonna waste my money to go see this.
Yeah, it's funny too, because the dad in the movie is the guy that played Roy on The Office, and he was in the Power Rangers. He was the Red Ranger's dad, and the mom is Elizabeth Banks, who played Rita Repulsa in the Power Rangers movie. And I'm like, Rita Repulsa married the Red Ranger's dad, and they had an evil Superman kid. That's great.
Which that means we'll see both of them in the MCU for Guardians of the Galaxy 3, because James Gunn made that movie.
Yes.
Hollywood is the worst at nepotism and who you know, because once you're in a movie together, they get recast in movies all the time together.
Look at Star Wars. J.J. Abrams bringing in the cast of Lost.
Yeah, every time I see one of his movies, I'm like, that guy's from Lost. That guy's from Lost. But the only time that really works is when there's a really good connection between the director and the actor, like Johnny Depp and fucking Burton, or Sam Raimi and fucking Bruce Campbell. Like, some of those dynamics work together so well, know how to operate in those movies. But it's just like, hey, I remember that one time that I Harvey Weinsteined you. Do you want to come work for this movie too?
Oh,
I just looked up Brightside. They made that for less than $12 million, and so far it's brought in $32 million.
Wow.
Yeah, wow, they made a movie. I'm still wow they could make a movie for under $20 million.
I think technically Brightburn's a sequel.
Is it?
Yeah. Do y'all remember the movie Super?
Which one was that?
It had the guy from The Office, the one with the glasses, the weird one.
Oh, Rainn Wilson.
Yeah, and he was on there with Kevin Bacon, and he was a superhero. He was pretty much trying to be a superhero. He was a guy who ran around in a red suit, knocking people out with a monkey wrench.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, then he got Me Too by Ellen DeGeneres in that movie.
Yeah, but yeah, but because I was looking up on Wikipedia, and then there was mention. I guess it's just the evil version of the character, but then it mentioned someone in red, and I clicked the link, and it took me to that. And I was like, oh, so it's technically a sequel to Super, because in that movie he was basically just a regular guy trying to be a superhero. Which is funny because as Ellen Page in there, she gets a shotgun blast to the face.
Yeah, that's who I meant to say was Ellen Page, not Ellen DeGeneres.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm getting mixed up.
I forget who said it the other day, but they said the jocks have taken over the geek culture, and that's why we're getting. And now it's gone from the jocks to now Berkeley controls geek culture.
Berkeley, fucking Berkeley.
Speaking of Jar Jar Abrams and his empty mystery box, did anybody see that he's getting a Superman and a Green Lantern movie now?
No.
I heard about the Green Lantern. I thought that was a joke.
I don't know. I just watched.
I mean, why not? His son got a Spider-Man comic.
Did anybody else see that?
Oh, that's terrible. I saw that.
I did not hear about it though.
I just watched a video on it before we went on the air. They were talking about it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's horrifying. Like DC is doing good right now. Like
I know, right?
they were talking about recasting Superman.
Give my
Yeah,
son give my son a comic, and I'll do your shitty movies for you. Because we all know that J.A. Abrams thinks himself a discount Steven Spielberg, and he looks down on comic books and Star Wars and all that. You look at the treatment he's given Star Wars. Yeah, I'll show up, I'll do it, but it's not my best work.
The crazy thing is, like, all these SJWs, NPC types are basically just, they're riding on other people's coattails, but they've gotten to the point where they're riding each other's coattails so hard that they're just spinning around in circles.
And they're still going to eat each other as the audience disappears. They'll turn on each other, like they did with Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, eventually when the audiences stop showing up because they're not interested, there'll be all the skeletons in the closet will start coming out. They'll be like, oh, well, the movie didn't do well because this particular actress didn't feel comfortable because back in 1996, J.J. Abrams accidentally grabbed her hand trying to stop something from falling off a table, and she got Me Too at that very moment.
You watch, because there's no statute of limitations on Me Too.
I think there's a statute of limitations for prosecution, but not anything else. Like
no, Me Too. No, we're not talking about prosecution. We're talking about persecution.
The court of public opinion.
There's no statute of limitations on that, and there's definitely no such thing as double jeopardy in that instance either.
Nope. They'll go. I reckon that once once Jar Jar outlives his usefulness, he'll get Me Too'd out so that they can bring in a female director.
Right. The one that studied under him and caused the accusation to begin with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he could Me Too somebody if they touch his nose because, it looks like
the speculation is that's how Kathleen Kennedy rose to prominence since 1999. And you look at every bad movie from the 90s onwards, whose name is on it? Kathleen Kennedy.
Yep.
Cray.
Signs. Remember Mel Gibson's Signs? It was supposed to be the next big thing after Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
Whose name in big lights was on it? Kathleen Kennedy.
Yep.
And who used to be Spielberg's assistant? And what happened? He pushed her onto Lucas. What happens a few years later? Lucas is now Disney.
Yep. And here she is.
And I could bet you that J.J. Abrams is going to get Me Too'd out for somebody else pretty soon. If he's doing superhero movies for Warner Brothers, there's nowhere else to go.
Yep. I'm
waiting. Go ahead.
No, Sal, go ahead, man.
What I'm waiting for, because you see it. I think I mentioned it on the live stream that I was on about James Bond and who owns it and how.
Yes.
We have, I think, 3 characters from the Marvel/Disney are in it. So I think Disney is slowly, trying to acquire more and more IPs, more and more properties until there's nothing left. So what I can't wait for is for all that to happen over the next probably 10 years until they acquire everything, and then the government has to actually come in and smash up their company, and a lot of these IPs can revert back to people who actually own them.
That would be absolutely like the most beautiful day in the entertainment history, in entertainment industry history, would be breaking that monopoly back up. Because that's why I laugh when that Fox merger went through. I was sharing the memes with Mickey with the Infinity Gauntlet on, and all the Stones were different networks. And everyone's like, "It's not a monopoly, man. You don't understand monopolies." I'm like, "No, but I think I do, my friend." And I think I
understand monopolies. We're on one.
Disney owns like 2 of the largest fucking news outlets, let alone everything else that they own, entertainment properties and whatnot. So
6 people own 93% of entertainment now. 6 people. That's a monopoly.
That's the very definition of it. So
what will be interesting is if before that happens, if we see, and we won't see it because it'll be behind the scenes, if they start breaking off. Without doing too much of a story, there's a certain chemical company in the continental United States that has created a lot of products that contain a certain chemical that they've known since the 50s causes cancer.
That'll be huge.
Well, it's been proven that that's the thing. However, when everything is taken to court, or when they were finally taken to court over it, sorry, hold on.
Give him a sec.
Yep.
Give him a sec. The tension is killing me. The suspense is killing me.
There was a Harley parked outside of the stop sign in front of my house.
I heard the rumble. Yeah.
Yeah. So when they finally got taken to court over this, because there were enough people that were like, "Hey, I worked for your company for 30 years, and my kids are deformed. They can't reproduce. So I'm sterile now. All this kind of crazy shit." They let like 2 people take the fall for it. And what they did is they created a shell company off to the side and sold everything over to that shell company. So now they've kind of not rebranded necessarily, but they moved all the production into a different name until all that blew over, and then they went back to the original. So it'll be interesting as if when this happens at Disney, if we don't see all these companies randomly starting up like Starshine Entertainment or whatever now owns this and that and the other, but it's actually owned by Disney, or someone who was like the chief executive from Disney owns that company.
Yeah, it's the 2-tier justice system. Disney's far bigger than what's his name? When they broke up the telephone companies, Disney's far bigger than that. There's been many monopolies far smaller than Disney that have been broken up, but because Disney's got a D after its name, well, actually, D's got it's big capital D. You know, I honestly think most people don't realize that Disney runs the Democrat Party. They own it. It's a subsidiary of Disney. That's why Disney is allowed to be a monopoly. That's what's kept Disney in business. You know, Disney, how many times has Disney gone broke? I mean, legitimate broke, been out of money broke.
Crickets, I have no idea.
Well, at least 3 times.
Yeah, because every time they go broke,
they get government contracts that pull them out.
Yeah, out of nowhere, they like the last time they were like broke was I think in the 80s ish, or no, even sooner than that.
Well, early 90s it was.
Yeah, and they got that huge upswing with Aladdin, not Beauty and the Beast, but Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and all those other animated shows. And then they coasted back down because Pixar was kicking them in the nuts. And then they bought Pixar and shot way back up.
Yeah, like how does Disney buy more companies that are more successful than it? That's what gets me. But then they say that Disney's got all these other properties, like they have, the theme parks, they have the resorts, and they keep managing to leverage 0% interest. Everybody's scared to say it, and you get into a lot of trouble for it. But certain people keep getting protected. You know what I mean? And it's created not just a 2-tier justice system, it's created a 2-tier economy, where Disney can go get almost 0% loans, but you and I got to pay 13% interest.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And it's really going to boil over. It really is. Because there are so many people out there who just can't make it as an artist simply because they don't have it. Because there's now just too much competition for that narrow market. There are 30 million writers for 3% of the marketplace. It ain't going to sustain.
Yeah, that's
No.
And I blame the audience. I blame the audience. The audience keeps screaming for something original, but every time something original comes out, although occasionally something original does get, like Attack on Titan, it became a minor success. But most of the time, something original comes out, it just becomes something on Netflix.
Right. Yeah, because the audience has been conditioned for this homogenized entertainment over the years, and it's just gotten worse and worse, and it dulls them down. And that's like, I let my kid watch some of the Disney in the morning because he likes Mickey and all that, but and then I turn it off, and we watch movies, or we go outside and play mostly, and we do school and stuff like that. But yeah, I see these shows and I'm just like, a lot of this stuff is just like, it's cringy as an adult. I'm looking at it going, it's just weird. No, I don't think so. And yeah, go ahead, Sal. You had a point to make too, man.
Well, I was thinking it, just talking about consumer versus product and all. It's kind of like the fucking people that buy from scalpers, like especially in the with toys and like anything that's in a resealable box like Marvel Legends or anything like that. You get a lot of fucking scalpers that'll go in, buy it all up, and then sell it. And you can't be mad at the scalpers necessarily. I mean, you can for buying up everything, but they wouldn't exist if people didn't fucking buy it. And the thing is, there are enough people who aren't jaded or just, want to live life through their fucking screen on Facebook and Candy Crush and shit that they're not willing to step back and look at, like, why all of a sudden are all these properties being revitalized? Like, they don't want to look at the zeitgeist and analyze, okay, we're in the resurgence of the 90s, because it was basically after the greatest generation of the 1940s and 50s. It's just been kind of like, oh, let's just reboot this and let it come back into style because we've run out of ideas. Like every idea someone has, including me, like I'm starting to write a graphic novel. It's a reboot or it's a revisioning of something that already happened.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, yeah, as a writer, I can tell you that there's 28 stories, and all of them were written as they were all written 3,500 years ago. All we're doing is rearranging the deck chairs, but that's not what Disney's doing. Most of Disney's stories are the same.
Mhm.
Princess defies her father. Princess finds a pet. Pet guides princess to her boyfriend. And they sing for a little bit. They go on a plutonic date, and she goes back and confronts her parents, and she becomes the hero. That's the same.
Journey, only a little bit changed up.
Yeah. From the writer's perspective, you've got lots of changes to make, but Disney's packaged it into this narrow wish fulfillment, and girls lap it up. And what's happened is that since the 90s, the shift has changed from boy toys to girl toys now.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into, and that's what killed Kmart. Kmart was big on boy toys, big on male fashion, and then came Walmart. And Walmart rode the wave of Chinese knockoff and Disney princess, and pushed them out of the market because mums control the spending. And that's what's happened. That's what's happened since the 90s with feminism and Me Too and Third Wave. It's about pushing. It's not about equality. It's about power. And Disney is that vehicle of power. If you look at the four, sorry.
No, I was gonna say. Speaking, it's I hate to cut you off, man, but it's about that time because
About that time, yeah.
it is about that time because there's another show that's a little bit larger than mine, and I will do my due diligence in my respect to them, and kind of wrap this up beforehand. But I wanted to thank you guys for coming on this evening for an abridged version of the podcast, and we'll be doing this again next Wednesday night, our normal time here. There'll be one live stream a week, and it's going to be Wednesday nights at around. We'll do around 8:30. We'll stick to that time. That'll be our normal time. So let me thank David Applegate. Thank you for joining us this evening. Your debut here on the Place to Be Reviews. Thank you, sir, for coming on, and go ahead and plug your works and your channel.
Okay, yeah. I have a channel, Dave. I have a YouTube channel, Dave Talks. I sort of break down science fiction and fantasy. Look at what's coming, and try and look for new trends. And I'm into creativity. I'm a writer. I have a book on Amazon, The Boyhood of Katie, which is book 1 of the Empire of the Elves, and book 2 to come out hopefully in the next couple of months.
Hell yeah.
Excellent. Sal Vador.
Yeah, Tap and Die's actually got my book.
Yeah, I bought the digital copy. I'm gonna buy the physical soon.
Okay.
Cool.
All right, that's good. And Sal Vador, you are next, sir. Go right ahead.
I have a fledgling toy channel. I am about 2 farts away from having 50 subs, so I'm happy about that considering how little I actually promote it. I review mostly new toys, unfortunately, because that's what gets the clicks at the moment, which, I've changed switched up my format recently. If you've seen any of my previous videos where I do like these long form kind of backgrounds on the characters and go over the figure and have little snippets of entertainment, now it's a 2-minute video where I just review the figure itself and seeing if that appeases the audiences. So it's 2 Cents Toys. That's spelled out as 2 Cents Toys, and it's on social media across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Give it a like, give it a follow. Let me know if you like the videos the way they're being made now versus the old ones. I recommend watching the Cyclops and Silver Samurai videos and then comparing them to the most recent uploads.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you again for joining us, Mr. Salvador. Tap and die.
This is the part where I would promote my book, but I'm waiting for my Hebrew slave to help do his editing part.
God damn. God damn.
Wait, watch. When that promo comes out, I know it's going to be beautiful. That's why I asked you to do it.
Yeah, see, and Tap has read the edit of his first chapter, and I think my work speaks for itself, sir. So there you go. You're welcome. Monica is we are working on getting the Facebook page up to 300 likes, and we got a whole bunch today. So go ahead and plug the contest on the Facebook page.
So once we get 300 likes, I'm going to, at random, select a winner for a comic book canvas painted by me character. Does any of that come out in English?
Kind of.
Wait, you gotta like the page?
Yeah, like the Facebook
page.
You
gotta be.
Just give it to me.
Just give it to me. Yeah.
It's the Place to Be reviews on Facebook. And we're up to about 270, I think 5 or 6 likes now. So 24, 25 away there in that range from hitting that 300 mark. And we actually just hit our 65th subscriber today to the YouTube channel. So we're slowly getting up that hill. We were stuck at 61, and then we've got 4 in the last 3 days. So it's been kind of fun. My last video, one of my Phase 4 videos, is like over 50 views. So I'm happy. It's not a ton, but for me on my scale and by my grading scale, it's not too bad. So I'll take it. I'm going to do another trailer reaction to the new Batwoman trailer tonight. And then I have another little surprise video coming out probably tomorrow morning. And I'm still finishing up actually the Fear the Walking Dead half of the season review. I was going to do it quarterly. I'm just going to review the first half of this season and lump it all together. With that being said, I am Pete Itepukuin of the Place to Be Reviews. This has been episode number 46 of the Place to Be Reviews podcast. Thank you so much for joining us, Chris Wicks, Brian Kephart, Brian Lath, the Appalachian American. And I hope I didn't miss anybody in the chat. Thank you so much, and have a good evening. Let's all go to the High Council. Good night, everybody. Monica J, send us out.
What? What do you want me to do?
Just say good night.
Okay, bye.
Say good night.
Say good night. Hey, good night, Ollie. Good night,
She still doesn't say it.
I still didn't say it.
Oh, I love you guys. Good night, everybody. This is Cleveland Brown, you sons of bitches.